Virtue signaling within the video game space isn't anything usual. A lot of studios have been doing that in recent years, and some of them are starting to learn that it's probably not best for them if they want to actually sell games, because despite what the internet might have led them to believe, people are not interested in being lectured at when they're playing games. They just want something fun, mostly as a form of escapism. And some of these studios have started to understand that, and they're kind of backpedaling on it a little bit because they never actually cared about the supposed causes that they cared about. They were just doing it because they thought it was the popular thing to do, so they were pushing that. Come to find out, it's not popular or profitable for them, so they're kind of changing course. Not all studios, on the other hand, though, are willing to actually change course. Some of them are actual true believers in these causes, and they're going to continue to push it as long as they actually have people at the company willing to actually make these games. That's where we're getting this latest trailer from EpicGames right now, because not only is it them overtly virtue signaling, but so much so that it actually kind of comes across as being very racist on their part. So just take a look at this trailer for their latest game that they just announced, called Relooted. Now, if you haven't seen this before, it's basically about a group of black people who break in and steal stuff. Yeah, we're not joking. And this collection of characters here, they definitely seem to hit all the different shades of black people, so to speak. Or you just look at this right here. It reminds me something out of Concord, and we all remember how well that one turned out. I mean, what's with these designs here? I know they want to make the characters kind of stand out or anything like that, and have like kind of a unique look to them, but I don't know what they were going with when it comes to this. Are there any people in the black community who actually do dress like this or like this this style outside of just like those really overt like gay people? Us. So yeah, that's really just the whole game, is like they're trying to reclaim black artifacts from museums, so they're just breaking in and stealing stuff. I guess a lot of the characters have like their own unique abilities that help them actually achieve these sort of goals. It's clearly a kind of a more simplistic style of game, and you know, in all honesty, the idea behind this game isn't really that bad, but a lot of times when you have games like this, where you're people committing crimes, the game tries to present them as like, these are still the bad guys, yes, so the protagonists that you play as, but they're not something to be emulated or idealized, but that doesn't seem to be what they're doing with this sort of thing, unless the people working at EpicGames just don't understand what's right and wrong, and they think it's right to break in and steal stuff just because you're saying that you have some type of vague claim to it, because maybe some people who have somewhat of a genetic similarities to you owned it in the past, so I guess they're saying like that means you own it in the present, or you have a right to it in the present. I don't know, it's kind of stupid for that, but still, that's Relooted. And when they released this trailer, the internet was not, it didn't take too long for them to kind of point out like, this is an incredibly racist game, if that's what you were going for. So here's the post that they shared out about this. Announcing Relooted, an African futuristic heist game where you reclaim real African looted artifacts from Western museums. Wishlist it now. And of course, the internet did what the internet does and just continues to roast it. Would your platform allow a game about white stealing from African museums? What's exactly the target audience for this? We was artifact thieves. Is my bike in there? We call it, can't say that on here. What in the chicken fried F? Oh no, baby, what is you doing? Oh lordy, what did I just read? He would approve. That's a good one. Anyone who is opposed to this should explain to me how it's ethically possible for especially British museums to own African artifacts. Because they claimed them later on down the line. You just have to understand, a lot of the museums that have these artifacts, like the British Museum, for instance, there were artifacts that they took that weren't anything special in their home countries at the time that they took them, and it was just like, oh, these things are pretty cool, let's take them back to our country. It's kind of like you go to another country and get something as a souvenir. I mean, I'm not saying all precious artifacts are souvenirs, but just kind of think of it in those terms of the people at those native lands didn't necessarily care about those sort of things, but they were discovered by someone on the outside. They're like, oh, I like this. This is interesting. Let's bring this back and put it in a museum. Then years down the road, it's like, wait, these things are in a museum. They're come from our country. They're very valuable. We should get those. They should be ours. It's like, well, no, I mean, you basically gave them up in the past. So that's why you no longer have them. Obviously, that's not the case for all artifacts, but I mean, the whole idea that just because it came from a certain country, that means that country has a right to it is complete hogwash. If you lost them, then you lost them in finders keepers, and you all know the rest. But it's not just also in the comments. Looking at the quote tweets for this, it's pretty bad all around. So let me get this straight. Of all the possible things the studio could have made, they decided to make a game about stealing and have the characters be black. And not only are they black and stealing, but they're robbing museums to steal back protected artifacts. WTF. You all damn well on what the WTF you're doing with this premise. EGS exclusive. So on top of the hilarious premise, I can also blame 40% 10-cent CCP blood money funding for the game. Yeah, I mean, it's just not a good look for them. In fact, this is one of those games that I would imagine if you were to ask a racist person to like make a game where it's centered around black people, this is the kind of thing that they'd be like, oh, if I'm going to make a game about black people, then I'm going to make them be looting stuff. That's the whole thing, because apparently that's all they're good at is just breaking in and stealing stuff. At least it wasn't just like convenience stores in this one. They're actually breaking into museum, which takes a little bit more skill than that, but still, it's not a good look. And it all falls on one man to stop it. I like that reply here. But yeah, this is just not a good look, and it has just come across as a bad attempt to virtue signal on the part of Epic Games. Some people were saying because Epic Games has a good track record that this is going to be like the first big flop for them. I guess we'll just have to wait and see when the game eventually comes out. Maybe because they're drumming up so much attention surrounding it just because of how crazy the premise is. It might actually sell some copies and be moderately successful for them. But I don't know if it's actually going to work out for them the way they're wanting it to. I think this is something that's just going to upset a lot of people, because people who are don't like to be virtue signaled at are not going to like this. People who are seems to be the target audience for this are not going to like it because it paints black people as the villains in this sort of thing. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens when the game finally does release. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.